everybody. How are you? What an exciting, exciting day for us as Cardinals. We've been waiting for this day, and I can tell you I could not be more enthusiastic about where we are today and what is to come. As you know, I'm always about expanding the Cardinal Nation, and I do believe our very best days are still ahead of us. So today, my husband Macon and Bendapudi and I are delighted to welcome to the Cardinal family some newbies. I want to introduce to you Allie and Isaac and Bryce and Beth. And I believe they brought somebody with them. I mean, could we have a big round of applause? Them to the University of Louisville. So that's why you're all here, I know, to cheer them on. And I know that they come with a family member that they love, and I know that we, as Cardinal fans and family, will love. And to do that introduction, I'd like to introduce my athletic director, your athletic director, someone who's worked so very hard on this process. I could not be prouder or more thankful today for Vince Tyra. So everybody, please have Vince come up here.
Thank you. I really appreciate the turnout. Obviously, it's a very exciting day for the university. It's an exciting day for our athletic program, and it's certainly a very exciting day for our football program. As Neeli said, it's been an exhaustive process. It has. It's maybe more my style than anything else. It certainly pooped me out, I will tell you that. As you can tell by my voice, and I think I can hear out of one ear and not the other at this point. So. I'm not good when I get into these things and get driven about getting proper amount of sleep, and thankfully we're at a point where at closure, and I'm very, as I said, just excited. I know it's an easy hyperbolic word to use, but in fact it is true. So you know, what's made the hire easier is we just completed a EULA board meeting was just that. The faith and trust that I've had from our board of trustees, the EULA board, the university administration, has been terrific. It really has been easy for me to go through that process, and I'm certainly thankful for my staff because I've been away from them quite a bit, and they've carried on and kept the leadership meetings going and kept the athletic department going, and that speaks volumes about the team that we have here. The support that I've personally received from the ACC and from John Swafford, our commissioner. He has stayed in touch with me on a regular basis. I've used him as one of my reference points in this process, and we developed a terrific relationship. I really cherish what I have with John and his leadership in the conference, but his friendship, and in this case, he's been great. And I know he's already reached out to Scott, I think either last night or this morning, to welcome him to the ACC, which is a class act. It's important also that the team that's here, and I see a lot of our team that's here today and some of the staff, just to get the trust from the current team and what we're doing means a lot. I've certainly had some difficult conversations with them and the staff over the last few weeks, but I know they deserve a great hire, and we're delivering that today. I'd say this in talking about the team, the season certainly didn't go as planned. And I think, I think we're all clear that. My assessment of what it would take to get us back on track and get back to those Orange Bowls and Sugar Bowls and compete with Clemson and take them down to the wire and now get over that hump, I felt like needed a change of leadership. And while I have great respect for what Bobby accomplished at U of L, this felt like the right time to make a change and find a head coach that fits the needs of our program today and going forward. In any search that I've ever done, you have to be cautious about hiring the glitz and glamour of what's out there, and maybe could be a short-term fix. And I think that even though some of that may have been on resumes I looked at, it was clear that I needed to find somebody that fit the criteria that I established. Because we certainly did have interest from others in Power 5 and NFL experience and so forth, but I'm comfortable we have the right man that's sitting behind me. In this case, the criteria is centered around an established leader, as our kids sometimes say, an alpha dog, a quarterback. And while Scott was a quarterback and a great leader during his time at Appalachian State as a player and then later a coach, he certainly has those natural instincts of leadership that we've all read about and I've got to know personally. The culture and the high culture integrity that he's brought to Appalachian State, he'll bring to the University of Louisville. That won't change. I'm comfortable with that. We've had long discussion as references say so. The strong discipline that he has on and off the field is certainly one of the criteria that we needed. It's creating accountability, and I believe we have that as well in our discussions. Player development, you know, where he is today and what they've accomplished at Appalachian State. They're not running the 4 stars that sometimes we're fortunate to have and all that. He's certainly dealing with players that they've developed them into better players, and they've certainly developed them into better men. And we've seen that in their academic progress with what he's brought into the program, how they've accomplished their high graduation rate and APR and so forth. But also in his last 2 recruiting classes being averaging a 3.5 GPA. We both believe that the effort in the classroom does parlay to the effort on the field. His ability to recruit, you know, in our respective region, I think was one of the criteria. Establishing continuity of the players and the staff was something I was looking for. We've had some turnover in our staff. We've had some turnover in our players. We started this class with 21 that graduated 11. And I think it's important, if you have a program that's going to win year in, year out, you have to have continuity. And one of the amazing stats that I found with Scott and what he's accomplished this year, going 10-2 and winning the conference, and as most know, taking Penn State into overtime. And he'd probably like to have that another shot at that game. Should have been 11-2. Hurricane got in the way of another win. But he did that with the 3rd youngest team in FBS. And I think that says a lot for what he has and the leadership that he's brought with his staff as well. And that was certainly key to me. The winning background that he has is there. Moving them from the FCS and the FBS and continue to win. I think that allows us to do and accomplish our goals here, and that's compete for ACC championships and get into that college football playoff like we've been so close to do a couple times and would like to do. Fit with our community. I think his personality and his beliefs and his family sitting behind me fit within our community. You'll get to know them well because they'll be involved in our community. And I think the last point in the thinking about criteria is the excitement to be a Cardinal. And I've said that from day one when we started this search. I want someone to want us as bad as we want them. And that was clear from day one. I know there was competition for Scott in this process. At this point in his career, there were some openings that came available. And I was glad that we were able to position ourselves and stay in front of competition and landing here at the University of Louisville. He met all those expectations and those criteria that I talk about. And when you go into this, in my past as a chairman hiring C-level people, you've got to have criteria and stick to them. You can't get caught, as I say, in the glamour of the resume. And he has it. He's been a genuine leader who establishes and empowers leadership. It's a player-driven culture that he has, a player leadership-driven culture that happens inside the locker room, and the way he establishes that with the leaders, not just the captains, but a leadership in different areas inside that locker room. As I mentioned, he's a great family man, has high morals and integrity. I've got 4 witnesses in Beth and Bryce and Isaac and Allie behind me that can speak to that. When it comes to student conduct issues, we discuss that. He has a culture of education as much as punishment. And I think in dealing with situations, I've got 5 kids between 15 and 23 and stuff happens. And I think I deal with it as an AD here, this stuff happens. And we talk a lot about that. I mean, I looked at a lot of analytics, including player arrest, when I was going through this search. And not surprisingly, he performed well. Our discussion around discipline is one that really establishes accountability and is fair when holding them to those standards. So you got to establish what, as I always say, show you how you measure me, I'll show you how to perform. And that's the way he goes about it with their accountability on and off the field. Player development is geared around trust and respect. The reason the players he's brought into that system is because they do have a great deal of trust and respect with the coaching staff and with their leader, Coach Satterfield. He has shown the ability to recruit talent on the roster and his coaching staff, and I expect we'll see the same here. We've already had discussions about both of those topics, and I would think over the coming days we'll have a great game plan ready to finish out the recruiting season for the players and formulate a staff that will be competitive with anyone in college football. And I think he's a winner. As I talked about the criteria, he's definitely a winner. We've seen that. He's with what he's had. Feel free. I believe he can guide us through the ACC and then through the college football playoffs. And as I said, he wants to be here and wants to be a Cardinal, and that goes a long way. When considering what I hear about, can this guy step up to the Power Five from the Group of Five, if you will? He's already stepped up. He had to take an FCS program to the FBS. He had to take it when the first year, as a coach had been there for long term, that the program was not going the proper trajectory. He had stepped in, and the first year was 4-8, and then the next year started off at 1-5, and then won 7 in a row. And over the next 4 years, has been in the top 5 in wins, with over 40 wins. I think he's stepped up already, and he'll do it again here. The conference championship with the team I talked about, his great balance between offense and defense, which we talk about. I know we've been offensive focused, and I've talked about that. I love putting points on the board as much as anybody. But when it comes to what he's done on the defensive side, Brian Brown is our D coordinator, ranked 4th overall in passing defense at FBS, and ranked 4th overall in defense, period. Top 25 in the red zone, which is important. And then on the offensive side, his scoring offenses, we ranked 17th this season, and the rushing attack was 14th in the country. So he's got a great balance of that running and passing that we like to have. And I think when I look at some of the teams he's had, particularly this one, it compares to many of you may remember the 2014 that had a very similar attack in terms of run-pass ratio. And we had 4 future NFL running backs on that team. It was led by our local Stephon LaFleurs, not LaFleurs, at quarterback. And we accomplished a lot. We were averaging, I believe, 49.8 points a game during that time. And not that I'm putting that pressure on Scott, but it'd be nice. I knew he'd agree. It's his first day. But over the last 4 years, Appalachian State has ranked 16th in offense and 26th in defense, and I think there's been a good balance, and it's only been improving. And when you look at all the metrics that are available today, there's so much analytics available, third down conversions, efficiencies, and so forth. They kept sticking out, not just in the conference, but in the FBS. And so I happened to witness the game that I hate to bring it up, that he lost to Tennessee in overtime. And then obviously had a tough one, get away with Wake Forest, where they missed some kicks, and then this year with Penn State. So he's competed with these teams well. That game at Penn State this year was at Penn State. Look, I could continue to wow you with the stats and a lot of analytics, but in talking to Scott and learning more about how he developed the Appalachian State program, it became clear he was our Louisville man. And this is what we needed, where the program is, and my ability to look at my own diagnosis and use the old belly, the old good old intuition. It just felt like I kept coming back to the same guy while we entertained a number of people in this process. So our next steps are to work hand in hand and finishing out this recruiting process and put together a staff, a great one at that, and tack it on to what we had last year and the year before. We've had great recruiting in here, and we've had a lot of players that, however you want to look at it, fortunate, unfortunate. We had 16 true freshmen play a fair amount this year. And that's something that we got to think about as we bring in these future classes, how many should play and how many are really ready versus how many should redshirt, and we've had that discussed as well. But look, I think, to the fans that are here and showing up and the ones that aren't here today, I generally run our business here as one that has discussed, decided, support, as I've talked about before. And while I know you didn't get to participate in the discussion and the decision here, I certainly expect you to participate in the support. I've inherited an amazing stable of coaches and facilities for which to succeed, and I'm thankful for it. And now we get to add one more to our stable here with the most recent ones in Holly April and Scott Teeter and Chris Mack. I'm proud of all those hires. I hope you are as well. But I'm equally proud to introduce our new head football coach, Scott Satterfield.